Hi there, I'm Kevin O'Connor, and welcome back to this old house here in Jamestown, Rhode Island, and what was once our little rundown bungalow from the 1920s. Well, today it is a beehive of activity as we try to get it wrapped up by next week. You can see the painters are on site. We have got some slate going around, our gas fireplace right there. We've got the beautiful accent wall over here. Chris, how are you? Good. We've got the railing going in to match the white oak detail right here. And if you just pop into this room, this is sort of a little private space. It's going to be a television sitting room, sort of a sanctuary away from the main house, dark colors that kind of bring you down a little bit. And then as you come out of the living space, it's up a couple of stairs into a beautiful kitchen, and you can see that it's pretty far along.
Wow.
We've got countertops and cabinets in. Dana, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Kevin?
I'm very well, and in addition to the countertops and counters, cabinets, we've got the appliances coming in today.
That's right, and we're so lucky to have Will, a chef from Puritan and Company.
Will,
in
nice to meet you.
Cambridge,
Meet you.
down to teach us how to use this beautiful induction stove.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to that, but first, how did you end up with the decision to go with induction?
Well, we're making electricity right here on the roof of the barn.
Yes.
So we want to use electricity for all of our appliances, and as part of a net zero house, this is the most energy efficient option.
Cool, all right. I thought maybe you bought it because it came with a chef.
We wish that it did.
So, Will, tell us about induction. Just give us the basics sort of as how this thing is working, because it's kind of magic, right? I don't see a flame, and oftentimes I don't even feel the heat.
Yeah, so I mean, induction in itself, starts off with magnets. I mean, that's kind of the base science of it. And when you're choosing your cookware to be able to go on top of it, you have to choose something where, a magnet will actually stick to it. So you look at this pan right here, magnet's not really doing anything, but you look at this guy right here, and boom.
So pots that are, say, like aluminum or copper,
Yeah.
those aren't going to
They're
work.
not going to work. So you got to choose, the right pots. And nowadays this is a little bit more prevalent in home kitchens. So manufacturers of different pots and pans are actually making induction lines so
Right.
that you can be ready for it. But the really kind of my favorite part of cooking on induction is the magnets. The way that they heat this pot of water we can boil in less than 5 minutes.
Let's turn this thing
yeah,
on and
so
get it
let's
going while
get
we
it
talk.
cranking. So this guy right here, we're going to do the crank all the way, and if we hold it, take it to the absolute top setting that we have right there.
So this is the indicator right here that one is on.
Yep.
Okay.
And so you can see already in the bottom of that pot, there's these little bubbles starting right there, which is usually, in a normal gas or electric stove, that's going to take you, 7 minutes just to get to that part of it.
So what's going on underneath that pot right there? What is actually being created that causes the heat?
So it's really basically the connectivity of the electricity and the magnets, which is going to kind of hyper boil and hyper heat the molecules in here. And actually what I think is the best part, and we're not at a full boil here yet, but you can actually slide this right off.
That's ridiculous.
Put your hand. So you got kids at home, worried about somebody reaching up here, they want to get involved in the cooking. You can put your hand pretty much right on top of that.
I can feel some heat.
You can feel some residual heat that's coming from that, but nothing like, it's on, but
Right.
you can put your hand right on top.
Not
nothing.
source heat. Well, that is very cool.
Then you put it right back on. You can see that change right up. Tells you that it's back on the highest setting and good to go.
So you like it, Dana, because we're talking, it's going to help us with net zero, the efficiency. You love the speed.
Yeah.
Do we have any sort of health issues to worry about? Anything you're concerned with?
No, I mean, I think, for me as a chef, speed is going to be the #1 factor of being able to get things, really, really hot. But secondly, I mean, one of the things we're going to do today is poach some eggs, is controlling heat. So it's not just about flicking it on, taking it all the way to the top, full max all the time. It's about being able to keep, whatever water you have here for more delicate things like poaching eggs at just the right temperature. And with these settings right here, you can dial it right in and you're good to go.
So speed and position, and I am good to go. What are you cooking for us? Because we got a meal coming our way, right?
Yeah, we're going to actually do like a little brunch pasta. So we've got some basically carbonara with asparagus. So we'll have some bacon, some eggs, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, asparagus, and I think it's going to be a nice little thing to top off with some poached eggs.
You had me at bacon. Let's go.
We've got our boiling water ready to go. We're going to add our pasta in here. I like to leave it whole, and then as soon as this starts cooking, you're just going to push this down. You can already see the noodles starting to go down just like that. I like a nice long noodle when I'm eating a pasta dish. So, you know, none of these little short stubby guys.
Yeah, who
so,
doesn't like a long noodle?
Exactly. So, you know, you can see that, like, you know, anytime you add anything to boiling water, it usually takes a really long time for there to be recovery. So in this case, what we're doing is, you know, on top of the induction, the recovery is so much faster. So this is already back up and boiling again. So while we're waiting on that, it's going to be about 10 minutes in there. Now, really, if you think about how fast the induction is bringing the water to a boil, it's not actually going to cook the food in there any faster. So it's not like a microwave technology, it's just actually for how it heats everything on there. So this isn't going to change any cooking times if you're reading like on the back of a label or anything like that, or a recipe and it says that, whether it's the, you know, inside or it's the top, cooking time is going to be just the same. The amount of time it takes to get your pan hot or your food hot, that's different.
Okay.
We'll take our bacon right here. We're not going to add any oil, butter, anything like that in there because bacon's going to render out. So really what we want to do is make sure that the bacon starts to release the fat that's inside of it. Got our cut asparagus. Now you can sub this in for any vegetable you like. Then you just take your egg, lower it down in there. You see all that starts coming off the bottom? That's what's going to give you a lot of flavor in here. It's been about, you know, 10 minutes on our pasta here.
All right, guys.
Cheese in there in the middle, guys.
Moment of truth. Everybody dig in. Get that egg mixed up here into the whole equation.
Some cheese.
It's actually really good.
What do you think?
What do you think, guys? Good?
Yeah.
Very delicious. First meal in the Powers' new house, huh? How does that feel, Dana, right? Get you excited for next week?
Setting the bar high. This is great. Really
And
great.
so I come with the house now, right? Is that how this
Yes,
works?
yes.
Yeah.
I hope you're okay with that.
I'll check with my wife. Enjoy the kitchen.
For months, we've been talking about our solar electric system, the photovoltaic here at our Net Zero house in Jamestown. Well, today is installation day. Dan Garrity is heading up our crew that's been very busy installing solar. Watch out, Dan. Good morning.
Hey, Richard. How are you?
You ready to go today?
We're here. Today's install day.
All right, awesome. So take us through, what have you done so far?
All right. So far, we've put the skirt down, we've put the mounts up, and we've ran some conduits, and now we're getting the panels prepped, ready to lay them down on the roof.
So this is one of the mounts here?
Yes.
So we're sitting here, what, a mile from the ocean. The wind can get pretty strong. This will hold them onto the roof?
That's right. This right here is going to torque down onto the panels, and this right here is going to, this is a lag. This is going to go into the rafters to make sure it doesn't pull off.
Really get a good bite.
So we put this through here, and once we put everything in, it's a watertight finish.
So this flashing is going to sit underneath the shingles we see
We're
right
going
now.
to lift up the shingles and slide it in.
All right, good. So that won't leak. Now, I noticed that the wood shingles don't go the whole way.
All right, so this racking systems, it's meant for asphalt shingles. The home has cedar shingles. They want to continue with that theme. So everywhere that's you're not going to see solar panels, they put some cedar shingles around it.
And why pay for the cedar shingles if you never see them ever in its life?
Exactly.
Good idea. All right, so you're up there on the roof with a safety harness. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, we've got our mounts in right now. Let's run through an example of how a mount's installed.
Okay.
Alrighty, so on the CAD, we know where each mount has to be. We're going to find the rafter right now. We do a little sound test, center through, put a pilot hole in. We're going to pull up this shingle right here, slide this through. We've got some sealant on it.
You do some caulking or something here?
Yeah, underneath. And now here's our lag. We're going to impact that down,
Right
torque
down,
it into
right
the
down
rafter.
into the rafter. Beautiful.
So this is the panel prep process.
All right.
This is the back of a panel here. This is an optimizer.
What's that do?
Optimizer is basically the brain of the panel. So that communicates with the inverter. Back before we had optimizers, say if the shade went over a panel wasn't producing, the entire string would not produce.
Like knocking out one light in a string of Christmas
Exactly.
lights.
So
Okay.
now it's the brain, it's just going to balance all of the panel production.
So that's an important part.
So now we're ready to put these up on the roof.
Good. So are these panels all going to be connected one to another?
Yeah, so you see we've prepped all the leads right now. You connect one end to the other, and it's just one big long string.
One big series. What we're seeing on the roof, we've seen before. This is a solar cell used in the RV industry. Simple cell, and the little silica chips right in here, when the sun's rays come down onto it, it excites electrons, and that's sent out as direct current here, and that's the kind you'd use with a battery. So when the sun is out, we can make electricity. It's a pretty cool miracle. All right, so all of our panels are connected. Is this the moment of truth?
Everything's on right now. Switch is on, solar is happening.
Okay.
So we have, this is an inverter, and this is going to invert DC power into AC power. So we have the DC power coming in, coming out as AC power, and any excess power that the house is going to be used is going to be dispersed back into the grid.
All right. So what are we making on a day like today?
It is a sunny day right now, cranking. We're about 4,000 watts.
So about 4,000 watts would more than carry all of our air conditioning load and much of the house.
Yep.
I can't wait to actually cool the house for free and make that meter spin backwards.
Exactly.
Great job.
Yep, thank you.
Our homeowner put a lot of thought into the details on his porches, from these rafter tails that are just decorative to the flared columns here that he designed himself. And today we have one more detail that needs to be addressed. Hey, Jeff.
Kevin, how are you?
All right, so we've got 3 porches on this house, and they all need lattice.
Yep.
And you and Don are of like mind. You do not like what's out there traditionally available.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the standard order here. You can really go square or diagonal in the world of lattice, and we like to do something a little different with every house. So I encouraged Don to come up with a pattern that was sort of indicative of the theme of the house.
Yep.
So he did a hand sketch, a little conceptual design with some viney type of thing. And we took that to our friends that have a CNC table, and we converted that schematic into an AutoCAD drawing, and that in turn talks to the CNC machine to cut out our pattern.
And what's that cutout process like?
So the CNC machine picks up a series of drill bits basically and brings it over, and it starts with a larger bit and takes out the bulk of the material, goes through the whole process. Then it comes back to the next size bit, cleans up a little bit more, and then gets a fine bit to get all of the finishing touches. It's really amazing to watch.
And so what was the material that you cut the pattern out of?
So we chose 1/2-inch MDO plywood, which is waterproof, and that way we could paint it black to match the rest of the trim.
Well, I mean, it is not hard to improve on the basic choices that are on the
that's
shelves
for
these
sure.
days, but I'm
Yeah.
dying to see what your improvements ended
Yeah.
up as.
So this is what we came up with.
Oh, yeah.
Is that awesome or what?
That is great. So there's that vine theme you're talking about. And speaking of detail, I mean, look at that. Got a little bit of a V groove there to give the illusion of the end of the vine. Chamfered edges, nice and smooth and crisp throughout.
Yep.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, that's cool, huh?
And this is the MDO?
This is the MDO, 1/2-inch MDO, so it's a waterproof material, and then 1x4 primed Radata pine on top, and that gets painted black.
And you just make as many panels as you need to fill in underneath all of the
Exactly.
porches. You've
Yeah.
got a little PT frame. So what's the idea? That we're just going to put it right up here?
Yeah, so that goes right up against that one.
How classy does that look, huh? Can we get this in right now?
We can put it right in. All right, so we're gonna put this in with stainless steel screws with finishing washers. That way, if you have to take it off, you can get access to it.
That's pretty smart. Before you set that second one, Jeff, if you'll just tap it to me a little bit. So
The
I'm
bottom?
flush it. Bottom to me, yep. Touch more. Nice, that's it.
Okay.
Get that for a second, thank you. Boy, nothing to it, huh?
Yeah.
And so we've got enough panels for all 3 porches, obviously.
Yep, they're gonna go all the way around.
Love the black, love the little shadow lines that are created. A huge improvement over just a stock lattice. Boy, Don's gonna be happy with that.
Yeah.
about the time in the project where I always want to remind people about the importance of ventilation. You can't insulate if you don't ventilate. How are you going to replace all the air in this building that you've spent so much money to heat and cool without wasting energy? Remember what we went through to insulate this house to meet its net zero energy goal. We have layer upon layer of insulation and air barriers, making the house incredibly tight. But when you turn on a bathroom fan or a kitchen range hood, where is that air going to come from? This is an energy recovery ventilator, also called an ERV. Now this unit would mount in the attic or in the basement. And what happens inside is pretty interesting. It has an important piece right here called the core. If you look at it close up, it's got air passageways that can go this way or in this way in the opposing direction. And it'll actually transfer both temperature and humidity. This surface is actually permeable to water. So in this house, we're going to take air from the bathrooms, the kitchens, or places where there might be smells or contaminated air and pull it through this heat exchanger right here to sending it to outside. But at the very same time, there's another fan bringing fresh air in the opposite direction across the core to inside the building. Now this transfer is pretty interesting. Let's take a winter day. You got 75-degree air leaving the building, but you've got 32-degree air coming into the building. Well, it'll actually pick up some of that temperature that you would have sent to outside, and you could get the fresh air coming in up to about 59 or 60 degrees. You're not going to get it all, but you're going to get most of that heat you paid for. The other thing that happens is humidity can be transferred. High humidity goes to low. You wouldn't want to have the humid air that you have inside the building in the winter that you've tried to get humid and have really dry air from outside come in. You want to keep that humidity in the building, and that does that. So what I've done to help understand how this passes through is do a sort of a fun test to show you how the air might pass through the core in opposing directions. So what I've got is a couple of smoke sticks. What you'll see is that the air passes by each other but doesn't mix. Here's red, here's blue. The red's leaving over here, the blue's right here. They don't mix, but they do transfer temperature and humidity. And it's critically important to have both of those things right in any super tight house like this, a net zero.
So Jeff has finally released the yard to the landscaper, and he has a lot to do before the homeowners move in. Hey, John.
Hey, Jen, how's it going?
Good, how are you doing?
Pretty good, thanks.
So what's going on over here?
Over here, we're laying some Black River limestone. It's a new product that we haven't worked with before. So we're following the manufacturer's recommendation for the installation method, which is a little different than what we're accustomed to.
Because typically we go dry laid bed, right?
Right. Normally we'd have gravel and sand, and then we would lay these dry, which means without the mortar. But in this case, we have this fabric here underneath the entire hole. And what this does is it sort of wraps everything together, helps it to move with the freeze-thaw cycle here in New England. And then we have some crushed stone as a base, which is a little muddy today because we've had some rain. And after the crushed stone, we have a mortar setting bed, which is 3-to-1 sand to type 2 cement mortar. And the process over here right behind you is to then paint the bottom of the stone with this Ardex product, which is a sealer and a bonding agent, and that would just get applied right to the stone. And after this is all done and all coated, the guys would take it, flip it over, set it in place. They would tap it, make sure it's level, make sure the pitch is correct.
It looks beautiful. I mean, I really love the color of stone too.
Yeah, it's a little dirty today, but when it's clean, it should be great. Jen, here we have more hardscape going on.
I really love how the black plays off all the other black. I like the arbor coming in with the picket fence and all these perennials.
Yeah, there's Annabelle hydrangea.
Which are awesome for snow cover because they'll go dormant during the winter.
Right, and some ornamental grasses here, a nice styrax tree. Mm-hmm. And here we have the crew finishing up with one privet left to install.
Finalize the hedge.
Yeah, this is a hedge we moved earlier. It lived where this fence was, but changed the landscape. We transplanted the hedge down the road, and now we're putting this last privet in to complete the hedgerow.
Okay, so we're going to take off the burlap.
Then we backfill,
Okay.
and they're careful to make sure that the top of the plant is even with the grade around it.
Right, so it's perfectly planted and level.
Yeah, and then you want to water it deeply. You want to let the water drain out so the air can get to the roots. It's actually easier to kill a plant by overwatering it
exactly.
than underwatering, and that's a common fallacy. Over here, Jen, we have tucked in this bed the irrigation well that was installed last week. This is going to service the whole site's irrigation system.
Right, in late August in this part of the country, you really are it's gonna be helpful to keep the vegetation alive.
Absolutely, it'll keep all the grass lush and the plants healthy.
It's beautiful.
Jen, here we are at the end of the job. We're laying the sod now.
Yep, this is the same sod that we saw cut, the microclover, last week.
Yes, it is, and all we have to do to prepare for it is spread the topsoil, rake it out smooth, roll out the green